So it's time now. So sticking to our promise of starting the event on time. So formally welcome one and all present here today. And today it's yet another special day for our program because we have Professor Abdul Hannan Chowdhury, who is Vice Chancellor of Prime Asia University. And it's really a privilege and honor for us to have you today with us because if I do his profile, you will find out that how busy this personality is. And I was going through his profile, and I must say, if I start reading his profile sentence by sentence, word to word, it will at least take half an hour for me to introduce him to you. So what I have done is that I'll be introducing him in a very summative way. I'll be throwing light on the type of experience that he is having. Of course, he is member of many societies and syndicates. But just to introduce him to you, right now, Professor Abdul Hannan Chowdhury is the Vice Chancellor of Prime Asia University, and he served as Pro-Vice Chancellor of Eastern University from 2014 to 17. He has been a former professor of School of Business. He has served as Executive Director of Expressions. He has been Dean of School of Business, Director of BBA Program. He is member of the syndicate. He has been Director of Career and Professional Development in North-South University. In total, he has 30 years of teaching and research, and his experience is primarily in 3 countries. He has worked as a faculty member in Canada, USA, Bangladesh. In Canada, he was working with University of Windsor. With USA, he has been working with Northeastern University, and with Canada, he is working with Institute. Ms. Renuka Devi, can you No problem. Sorry for these kind of disturbances are very common when we are conducting a session online, and especially a platform like GoToMeeting. So I'll continue. So he has worked with University of Calgary in Canada, and with Bangladesh, he has been associated with Islamic University of Bangladesh. And he is a professor of a very famous country these days, that is China, and he is visiting professor to School of Economics and Management to Yunnan Normal University, and we had Hubei where nothing is normal now. So he has been awarded PhD in Industrial Engineering from Northeastern University, Boston, USA, and he holds an MS in Operation Research from Northeastern University in 1996. He has served as a patron of Social Business Youth Convention, and he is a patron of Social Business Academy Conclave. He is Chief Advisor of Society for those of my friends who are from South Asia, and he has a wide range of publications. Means if I tell you some of his key journals, they are International Journal of Production Economics, Journal of Quality and Reliability, Journal of Quality Engineering, Journal of Industrial Engineering, International Journal of Productivity and Quality Management. He has a published paper, International Journal of Trade and Economic Development, International Journal of Economics and Finance, South Asian Journal of Management, and the list goes on, means it's not ending. Okay, so one of the very key highlight which I found in his profile was he has given a special place for his mother. For those of you, it is important information. He is son of a mother who was awarded Ratna Gaurav. It is one of the highest citizenship order of merit from Bangladesh, and he is son of such a mother. So salute to such mother who has produced this kind of personality and a person who believes in quality, not quantity. I present before you Professor Abdul Hannan Chowdhury. So without any further delay, I hand over the session to you, Professor. Thank you so much for coming here today and conducting a session for us. I believe many other people will be joining in between, but you can start. Sincere apology if I missed out any essential details.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. The organizer of this webinar seminar organized by the Buraimi University of Oman. This international webinar is already been held with the theme of seeking solutions during the post-COVID-19 a perspective from food security, health, education, economy, and technology. I must thank the Buraimi University Authority, the Vice Chancellor, and the organizing committee of this webinar for organizing such an such an important and pertinent issue during a pandemic, while we all are experiencing from across the world that almost 7.5 billion people across the world are virtually locked down. And we know that, well, those who are working in the academia, we have been also suffering a lot just because we simply cannot run our academic institution the way we usually operate in an on-campus education. I think in that respect, the importance of this conference is enormous. And I'm sure that, well, those who are participating today in this session, they are going to also know that, well, even in a country like Bangladesh and in this part of the world, in India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and all these South Asian countries, as opposed to the advanced countries, what we are actually facing in the higher education sector in terms of running our day-to-day operation, that is what is actually we are going to benefit from this session. Today, I'm going to actually focus on particularly the scenario that we are facing in Bangladesh and the question that has come, how that we are going to deliver the services that are truly very important from the academic institutions to deliver for, deliver with a mission for achieving good quality education. And that's why the topic that I'm going to talk today is sustaining higher education during and post pandemic. I think most of us, we know that, well, when the pandemic started, you all know that, well, this COVID-19 pandemic virtually collapsed all sort of activities in across the world, and this pandemic has surpasses the Great Depression of 1930s, and the world did not experience, actually, after the Second World War, we have not experienced this kind of difficulties, and virtually all sort of economic activities is shut down in all the advanced countries. The public health crisis that has happened across the world, including the advanced countries like US, Europe, and most of the other countries, 214 countries are actually suffered, due to this, still suffering due to this pandemic. The worldwide transportation shut down, the supply chain has got huge hit, and the informal working class migrant workers like in India, Bangladesh, and many other developing countries are actually suffering a lot, and they have got the highest hit actually in terms of the job loss and other. The psychosocial and the mental health issues of the student and also the general people have become a crucial issues in all the countries that are actually affected by COVID-19. And we from the academic institution, we did not have any other choice because most of the countries have shut down their schools, colleges, universities right of way. If I recall that, well, in Bangladesh, we have actually shut down all the universities and the colleges and the schools while our last semesters were at the middle of the semester. So we have completed our midterm examinations. Many could not begin new semester even, and we finished our rest of the semester. No other choices were there other than running the operations via online education or distance learning, those things. I remember in the China when Wuhan got hit, at that time Wuhan, the university in China, most of the universities, they were at the end of their semester. So over there, they did not, have problem in terms of closing their universities, because most of the universities in China at that time they were closing their semester. But universities like in India and Bangladesh and neighboring countries, and also in the advanced countries in the US and other European countries, they were at the middle of the semester. So we have seen that when different parts of the world, it hits different time. Actually, the higher learning institutions have got the highest hit, and that is what happened across the world. And the academic disruptions happen in academic institutions at all level of the universities across the world, and many advanced universities that I know, even in the America, they have closed down and they send their students back to their country. We know that global impact that has happened due to COVID-19, most of us, we know that, well, global pandemic actually disrupted the whole world, including the topmost economies of the world. It actually affected in the economy and businesses, because most of the economic predictors, including the World Bank, IMF, they have assessed that, well, GDP growth impact is going to be drastically down for many countries, and even the advanced countries like USA and European countries, and many other countries. The trillions of dollars of loss has happened due to COVID-19. The society and politics has also got high hit, because the psychosocial aspect of human being was affected by the pandemic, and the socio-economic inequality was actually dispersed heavily. The rich versus poor, the people, those who are doing businesses and earning enormous money, and then people, those who are at the bottom pyramid, the gaps have become even wider. The economic collapse happened in many European countries and many other countries in across the world. The political and social unrest has also happened due to this pandemic. The psychosocial impact of the human beings happened across the world, and you see that, well, many countries, they have also have got political and social unrest. Even the Black Lives Matter in the US has actually spread it across the world for a movement. So you see that even that has actually caused enormously to the political situation in the society of different countries. The financial structures of the businesses and financial structure, the fintech businesses, the share markets collapse, the investment decreases in many countries. Those things happen enormously, even in a country like Bangladesh, India, and many other countries, that we see share market declines. Even the US and Nasdaq and all the Dow Jones share markets, we see that, well, downturn is also there. The health and education sector has got also high hit. That enormous loss of lives, almost 500,000 people have died, and even millions of people are still on risk. I know that, well, we were going to suffer a lot, and this pandemic might continue longer period of time, and eventually that is going to create enormous problem. Also, education sector in country like Bangladesh and many other neighboring countries and advanced countries. So education sector also got a hard hit at all levels. We also know that, well, employment and industry sector also got heavy hit. Millions of jobs loss are there. McKinsey has actually announced that, well, 300 million people are going to lose job, and in the USA itself has lost actually 40 million jobs. Jobs are also lost in the European market. Even in the UK, around 1.6 million jobs have been actually suffered. Actually, I think those. So these are enormous impact in the employment sector and industry sector. Even in production, loss is also there. The export volume has reduced in many countries. The import export supply chains interrupted heavily. So we all know that, well, virtually all this sector is actually getting the interruption due to this COVID. But From the academic side, today's discussion is going to be heavily focused on the higher learning institutions, particularly academic institutions, people like me, those who are running private institutions, private university. Let me give you some highlights about Bangladesh, that Bangladesh has almost 150 private universities, as opposed to government has only 45 nationalized or government universities. No matter it's a government university or private university, virtually all the universities in our country is shut down due to COVID-19 pandemic. And last 2-3 months, no students could come to the university, and virtually all the universities are running their operations from remote, and that has become a new phenomenon for all of us to operate from distance. And that is what actually put academic institutions in a very challenging mode. I think the immediate challenge for higher learning institutions in this part of the world, I don't know the situation of the Middle East. I know that they are doing great in terms of delivering their, but Bangladesh and also India and many other countries are also facing a huge problem in operating from remote. First of all, I would like to say that, well, the big challenges for all of us, that the big question for all of us, how do we actually cater our students of the institution while they are apart from the institution? That is what is actually a big concern for us. Our concern is also bringing back our research student, because research has got huge impact, because you know that, well, labs and research facilities are in the campus, but the students could not come and the faculty members may not come, and those situation is actually creating a problem that we do not have faculty and student interaction directly on face-to-face, on a face-to-face basis. And in this moment, it is for us is very important how to engage our students, that we can keep them connected. That is what is a big challenge for us, and we want to make sure that we want to augment our teaching services, because via digital technology, because there is no other choice at this moment, that without taking the help of the digital technology, how we can actually augment our service delivery in the teaching line. How can we make sure those things? The possible collaborations with other institutions got huge hit, because university like us, Prof University, has used collaboration with the Chinese university and many other international university. All these things all of a sudden got hit. There are some students, they were supposed to go in China. There are some students, they are supposed to come from China. We have a collaboration with the Wuhan Textile University, where we are sending textile students from here with scholarships, but we could not send them. So you see that, and also we had 30 students in Wuhan, many of the students that we had to brought back in the country, and they are dispersed from the academic institutions to pursue. Actually, those have created problem in terms of the collaborating projects, collaborating things. Let me give you also some highlight that Prof University is, as a private university, we are small. We have around 6,000 students in campus, and these students are pursuing here heavily science-based education. We have pharmacy, microbiology, biochemistry, biochemistry, and also public health, nutrition. We do have a very large program of textile engineering, which we are actually claiming that in the private sector we are pioneer in terms of the textile education. Huge lab setups and those things are already in the campus, but due to COVID-19, that lab classes and also architecture department, the Tripoli engineering department, computer science department, those have got huge hit in terms of delivering the lab classes and also design class for architecture. So those lab class also got huge disruptions. That is what actually become a very big challenges for all of us. And then from the administrative point of view, people like me as a vice chancellor, when you would like to monitor our education service delivery, many of the universities do not have truly e-governance system that we can actually monitor and control everything via technology. That is not there. So many things we do physically, that is something that we cannot do at this moment. And obviously a big question at this time, that when we are running operations from distance, how do we ensure the quality content can be delivered to the students, and their development, content development of the course materials and other materials have become a big challenges for us. And conducting exams and assessing students for many universities. I was yesterday in a session with 7 vice chancellors, and we have been in a webinar in Delhi. So Indian experience and Bangladeshi experience, most of us actually agreed on that, well, we are facing problem conducting exams from the distance, and also assessing students properly whether they have learned enough for the course material. So disruptions happens in wide scale of education services, such as completing the courses with intended outlines, taking exams as planned, delivering lectures, providing support in person at the office hour is not possible, giving group projects and taking presentation. Those things are now run in actually in a distance mode. So you see that, well, this is what is the challenges for Bangladesh. So you see that education is in emergency due to COVID pandemic, because we are living amidst what is potentially one of the greatest threat in our lifetime in the global education. A gigantic impact, a gigantic crisis has created in the education arena. COVID-19 pandemic actually causing more than 1.6 billion children. It is an information about 161 countries which have been published in May 28. So this number is actually increasing even day by day. While some universities have strong online systems, obviously, because online education is not a new phenomena, especially for the universities. Many universities like us, we do have system in build, we do have technology in build, but the smaller universities and smaller institutions like school, college, and many other actually are struggling under the weight of the demand for higher education delivery through technology. And we all know that, well, at this moment, more than 91% of the students, about in about 190 countries in the world, are stuck at home, which is UNESCO has actually given that information. So we can understand that, well, these people, 91% of the students have to get the services from the academic institutions via remote services. And the pandemic also caused the greatest disruption of the education opportunity. This is what is actually a Harvard professor, he mentioned that, well, the world has experienced in at least within a century this kind of greatest disruption did not happen. Virtually higher learning institutions from across the world are looking for the best method and technologies to deliver lectures. That is what is the scenario right now, that we all are looking towards the best technology, best method, online education system, so that we can communicate our students from remote and disseminate knowledge and conduct classes and also conduct exams, those things that we can do. So obviously we can understand that what is the COVID shock bringing to us. Actually, the pandemic has forced universities around the world. There is no other choice other than running courses online, because we cannot simply shut down a university and we cannot say that, well, we are not going to run operations. The only choice for all of us is running the operations via online, and that's course online operation is going on. And many universities like us and many other universities in this part of the world is facing also a huge problem. I'm going to talk about those problems later in another slide. And this is the new educational paradigm is in front of us, and we can expect that, well, a new model to emerge once even COVID-19 is past. That means after post-pandemic, we should not say that, well, all the academic institutions are going to go back in the past model and going to run all operations in campus. I think that there is going to be new model of operations of education institutions are going to emerge. So that is what is actually the new normal in the education delivery. We all have to agree on that a new normal has arrived and we have to accept it. Although teaching online courses is not a new phenomena for many institutions. World top institutions already have the system inbuilt. Many other universities, they have introduced new system. Many of them are developing the learning management system, and there is no other choice other than going on online teaching, distance learning, offshore operations. So universities are actually operated from offshore, and classes being taught by technology, by the help of technology, based on adaptable online system, which is the obvious matter that we all are actually doing. So the questions actually comes to the higher learning institutions, particularly for the developing countries. The developing countries like India, Bangladesh, and many institutions in this part of the world, or the underdeveloped countries, are facing problems that, well, how to ensure online teaching aids. As you know that, well, we are teaching on online. That is something that our faculty members are doing based on using Google Classrooms or MOOCs or Moodles, or even free software like Zoom and Skype and many other GoToMeetings and many other platforms. But having said that, we know that while we are running a course in class, most of the advanced universities in across the world, they are using an advanced textbook for the students to use. And that textbook's availability in the advanced countries like in the USA and European setup, most of the students get the e-book which is available because the university purchased those e-book system in the library system, and then books are available through these things. In our country, we do also do some e-books already purchased. We have 3,600 e-books purchased. Those books can be or should be used or utilized. So there is a question that, well, how you actually deliver or ensure the online course teaching aids like course pack or textbooks, those things. Many teachers are using via email or via the learning management system. They are delivering the lecture sheets and the PowerPoint slides and homework assignments, those things via technology, which is happening. But then again, there are problems actually based on the system that we are running, depending on the system. So how to make sure that network access, country like Bangladesh and even in India, many parts of the country yet is actually facing the digital divide, that some of the students, they can access, some of them they cannot access because of the network access is not there, because of the electricity is not there, because of the high-tech apparatus like laptop or smartphone is not there. Even in Indian case, we have been listening that in one case, there is a student from a school, she committed suicide because she does not have a smart mobile phone at home. So this is what is the scenario in different parts of the world. Digital divide is there. Technology support is not wider, poor technology support, those things are there. Then the question comes, even country like Bangladesh, which has highly regulated education system. The regulation is, regulatory body like University Grants Commission, the Ministry of Education, and other accredited body like Pharmacy Council, the Bar Council, many other accredited bodies. They do also try to regulate. The regulations are trying to control, is trying to put a mechanism, even imposing bar for online education delivery system, which people like me, those who are open in terms of the world education and understand the global education could not apply everything that we understand in a country setup like Bangladesh or in a different country or societal setup. So and also just because the in the late March we have got the heat of pandemic in our country, all of a sudden all universities shut down, universities colleges schools shut down, and government has given support to industries, businesses and other arenas without giving support to education sector. So education sector has got high hit, especially the private sector, those who are depending on students' tuition. The revenue declined a lot because the students are spread across the country. Many students' family members they lost jobs, and their income was heavily influenced by the COVID-19 pandemic. So income reduced, and therefore students do not want to pay their tuition the way they used to pay, and they are so revenue got a big hit. And our operation of the university, the way we run, that is what is also caused by this kind of things, pandemic. So government did not give any incentives in the education sector in our country. I don't know what is the other countries set up. I know that Middle Eastern universities did not have funding problem. I'm sure the Western countries, some of the universities, they have got funding problem, but this is a common phenomenon also. Now the big question comes that, well, how long this pandemic is going to continue, whether it is going to sustain in 1 year or 2 years or even more, and will there be any treatment that we are going to see is going to come forward, and eventually we all are going to go for our regular operations. We see that, well, in the universities we have been using different type of approaches of learning methods, types of online learning methods. Many of you already know that, well, these are very common learning method that we use: blended learning or flipped learning or e-learning or m-learning or virtual learning. Whatever method that you use or you try to use, no single method is at this moment is appropriate, because we are heavily depending on technology. So blending method is something that some of us used to do in our regular time, in a normal time, that incorporate face-to-face and also education, and all that is possible. That is something that we do on a normal mode. But in the flipped learning approach, we students review lecture materials before they come to the session. This is something that we are doing right now. Many materials are going to distribute to the students beforehand, so that when they meet with the faculty member, they can discuss those reading materials and go over those as an interactive exercises, and faculty member can put independent work for the students to discuss in the classroom. Those things are happening. So you see that, well, eventually we all are actually depending on all those e-learning system-based formalized teaching education. That is what we are doing. Mobile technologies are also embedded in the service model, so that the student can use their smart phone to get access with the university and all the faculty members and all the teaching community, so that they can learn better. So virtual learning is actually here is in the absence of traditional classroom environment, everything is actually happening on a virtual mode. So we all know that, well, what are the merits and demerits of the online teaching. Many of us are in support of online teaching. Some of us also have counter measure, counter opinion. I remember that when last week we have been actually chatting with in a webinar mode with the Australian National University president. he himself is a Nobel laureate, but he mentioned that, well, there is no alternative of education without face-to-face. Face-to-face learning is always better option. But at this moment, we do not have choice. We are already depending heavily on online teaching, and we know that online teaching has flexibility. It is easy to access, but for some of us, for many of us, it is also more work before we go for teaching. Many things that has to be prepared and also delivered to the student body, so that the next class, while the interaction happens, that is actually becomes very fruitful. So online teaching, in one sense is good, because it gives us opportunity to cover more topics in limited time. It is to some extent better than the chalk and talk method that we use in traditional teaching mode, while it takes more time to express. But then again, some of our traditional teachers and the faculty members, they always feel comfortable while they do go to chalk and talk method. That is also, the new generation of the teachers are well versed in technology, and they are heavily depending on technology. They use wide variety of mode of teaching in the classroom discussion while they are actually performing it online basis. They use the video, they use audio, they use case studies, they give reading materials. They also communicate with the students in an off time. But those are the benefit of online teaching. So online teaching style is also different, which many of our traditional teachers or traditional faculty members, do not sometimes understand. Many could not adopt it. No, face-to-face contact is also sometimes good, because faculty can judge the student, and also on the basis of the his or her observation, they can treat the student in a different way in the classroom, and also help them outside the class. That is, in campus environment, is also good. So, in one side we see that, well, online teaching is interesting and motivating to some extent, but it does need intense requirement of self-discipline. If self-discipline is not ensured, sometimes this kind of benefit from the online teaching or learning method could not be also achieved. So now we see that, well, initially, for the institutional point of view, that the online teaching setup is high cost, and operating cost is also sometimes high. But if you do it in a wide scale, this cost is going to minimize in the long run. Then eventually online degree cost is also coming down. So responsibility and self-discipline is a must for online teaching, but feeling isolation creates negative attitude among the students. To some extent, students have got the psychosocial impact, just because they could not come to the university and cannot meet with their peer group of students. But when we are adopting digital technology for teaching in a country like Bangladesh or some parts of India, while we see that, well, problems and challenges are there too, because many of us could not ensure the high IT infrastructure. The limited and poor IT infrastructure and network support cause huge problem in terms of adopting the digital technology. Some faculty members are teaching online for the first time, because these faculty members are old generation faculty members. They do not have advanced technology knowledge. Now that the question comes that how do we actually train them? Although in our university we do have a faculty development program through which we have been doing it under the auspices of a project from the World Bank, that we run that project for 2-3 years, what we call the higher education quality enhancement program. Under that we have a IQC in our university, what we call the institutional quality assurance cell, and they are ensuring the faculty members training and achieving good quality education, service delivery, and also feedback from the students, alumni, and guardians, parents, and also faculty and staff members. On the basis of that, a continuous activities of quality improvement has already happened there, including focusing on the outcome-based curriculum. That was our focus, that how do we actually ensure that outcome-based curriculum is achieved and knowledge and dissemination is achieved and learning is also ensured. So limited budget for the IT and technology support for many universities, many institutions, and also depending on the economy and also support of the top bodies like the Board of Trustees and others has also create problems in different way, that we cannot spend enormous amount of money for IT development and technology support. Those are also, I think, an impediment for adopting digital technology. And as I already mentioned, that e-governance is not implemented in many of the institutions in our country. Even in some of the institutions that I know in India, Nepal, and other countries, just because they do not have e-governance, they cannot ensure the good governance at this period of time. And students, just because they are offshore, they are not there in campus, they are way too far from the university. Many Bangladeshi universities, they are 50 to 60% students are already in the rural villages. They are in remote areas. They do come to the city for education. These students are way too far from the university right now. So our objective to bring them in the campus, to develop their social skill, to make them socially aware, and also giving them huge support in the campus education for their skill growth, those leadership and skill growth and skill development program that we do in campus, which are truly not possible at this moment, although we are running little bit, but it is heavily impacted by the offshore type of operations. Greater impact on problem solving skills, because many problem solving learning things happen in classrooms, which comes from the group activities, and also sharing their thoughts with the faculty members cannot be achieved sometime in the distance mode if you do not have a very advanced system inbuilt. Learning by doing is missing in the laboratories, particularly in the architecture design lab, and also the Tripoli and the textile engineering and science labs. Most of the students, they learn by doing in the laboratory. Those experiments cannot be done, although some simulations techniques are going on, but it is not enough to make sure that students are going to learn. Although in the campus, always we are trying to place our students, those who are going to graduate and those who are pursuing internship, placing them in the corporations and industries is also part of our job that we do. But right now, just because the students are dispersed, it is not also happening in a wider scale. Although some job applications that comes from the company side, we are trying to disseminate those information to the students, those who are in remote. So these are actually, and also from the teaching point of view, ensuring outcome-based curriculum and achieving that target has also become actually a difficult part for the education sector. So you see that disruption in education service during COVID-19 is enormous, I would say. In-person counseling service is not there. We do give counseling service to our students, even those who have mental problem, those who have psychosocial problem, those who have drug addictions and other problems, the psychosocial and other counseling that we do in campus. And those things are now in remote, that those services cannot be ensured. And difficulty in conducting lab and design classes, which I already mentioned, is heavily impacted. Direct monitoring and supervising of the teamwork is also not possible sometime, although we are giving assignments and big projects to the group wise to do and to perform those things. But in order to make sure that the students are doing things in a collaborative manner, by discussing those things with the other member and sharing their own thoughts with the faculty members, have become also difficult. Operating an institution on online basis from distance has also become difficult sometimes to communicate with them, in terms of the other purposes, while we are actually disseminating most of the things via our website, via email, via distance measure, it is sometimes is actually creating some problem, but it is fine for us actually. The teaching method variations are wider because faculty members, not all of them are heavily equipped and trained. Many of them do not understand that how do they teach online course via using the sophisticated technology. They or taking the benefit of technology has become a crucial part for some of the faculty members, not for all. Limited time to adopt new system because during the pandemic last semester we have shut down our university at the middle of the semester, so many of them have faced actually a big problem. Although the upcoming semester right now, I don't think it is going to be a problem because now that our learning management system is far more stronger and also very resourceful that we are trying to operate, and then most of the students from even distance we have seen that well they are trying to register for more courses. That's a good phenomenon that we see that students are enthusiastic about taking courses and also finishing their program and proceeding their education. That is what we are observing right now. So the question comes that what should university leaders be thinking in terms of the business continuity? How do we actually operate our business continuity from the institutional point of view? That means that we have to actually focus on the long-term strategies while pursuing also short-term strategy and trying our level best to scale up those things in order to continue our sustainability. And at this moment I think that the two task force can be employed. One task force from the university administrative point of view that is going to focus on as a short-term task force which is going to deliver reports and put up initiatives and programs for day-to-day smooth operation of the university. This short-term task force is going to look into those things for the day-to-day operation type of things. But the long-term force are going to prepare a blueprint strategy for online education, maybe even for longer period of time, for say next 10 years. And they are going to target that in spring 2021, which is the January session. From there, that this blueprint strategy can be implemented on online basis if pandemic continues, so that we do not have any other problem that we can run operation. So in the long-term task force, we should decide on accurate and lean allocation of the resources, and it's a start and it's trial and error basis. We have to see that well what best fit online education system or method can give us good feedback for depending on your existing faculties and also skill set and the resources that you have. This is this is something that we are trying to say that well start in a small scale first, in a small experiment via informed intelligence, getting the stakeholders information, and then make some decision, and then you try to implement those things so that we can see even during and post COVID delivering successful higher education is something that we are heavily going to depend on the correct allocation of university resources, tailoring everything, including our financial, physical, emotional needs of the students, everything that we have to embed in the So technology in education has become an obvious matter for all of us. Technology has intentionally changed our education sector. Technology infuses our classrooms with digital learning tools, and it links our teachers to their students and to professionally deliver the content, resource, and system. That is the benefit that we see that well, and increases students' engagement. technology, just because we are using advanced technology, it increases students' engagement and it motivates and accelerates to some extent learnings. So the point is, assessing learning outcomes in digital learning has become a very important issue for all of us, because as you know that our target is to see that whether outcome-based education is ensured. And then the big question comes that how do we align learning outcomes and the assessment? We did the two big question, and what and how. What do we expect students will learn? That is something that the faculty members has to make sure that, well, what is my expectation that the student will learn the course that I am actually teaching or offering, and how do I make sure at the end of the semester that students have learned, and what kind of assessment method we are using to judge, to figure out that that is ensured. So here I think the alignment of our outcome-based curricula and assessing students in terms of their learning, it is something that we have to make sure in the outcome-based digital learning approach. So sustaining teaching is something that is very important for all of us. All the teachers has to prepare students to conduct classes remotely. So no matter it's the mental support or even connecting them, remotely, faculty members has a responsibility to ensure that, well, you have to prepare your students so that they are motivated and communicate with your students, early and frequently. Before you start, you try to communicate to your students with the email or phone database or SMS or other resources of remote connectivity, so that they are aware of that things, and you do it frequently before semester begins. So that is what is also important for all of us, and focus on learning outcomes even if you need to adjust these specific activities. All the time faculty members has to focus on learning outcome. After finishing this course, what learning is going to be achieved and what students are eventually going to learn, what are the things in bulleted point they are going to be able to learn. They have to make sure that after this you are going to learn this basic concept, or you are going to learn this software, you are going to learn performing those experiments. Those things have to be make sure. And your faculty members has to also prioritize course activities, focus on what they are going to actually deliver. That is, they have to prioritize the whole course activities in a different mode than the face-to-face classroom. And they have to maintain the normal course scheduling as much as they can, because they cannot change the schedule of the class time and class schedules, and also providing assignments or homework or quizzes or exams. Those things has to go schedule wise, so that we see that we can achieve that learning part eventually. And faculty members convert synchronous activities to ease schedule challenges. Those things they have to rearrange course activities by delaying those activities where face-to-face interaction needed. So faculty has to customize many things. They have to replace physical resource with digital resources. Faculty members have to be prepared those digital resources, and they have to give those things as opposed to the physical resources they are giving in real-time class or face-to-face class. And all faculty members has to consult with their respective dean or senior departmental heads and others in order to get the guidance and guidelines. And anytime anything happens, they should ensure the top bodies to know. And finally, to use tools that are familiar to you and the students. Do not go like a heavy duty or heavy technology things that students or all the students cannot adopt. Try to use flexible technologies so that they can learn easily, and teaching learning can be also delivered in a way. I would recommend particularly 3 models for sustainable models that university leaders can implement. The first model that I would like to say, augmented immersive residential program. This augmented immersive residential programs where we are going to focus on cognitive and emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, social interactions, and many other skills. These are something that while they are in campus in residence form, we always try to do those things. Students have always preferred on-campus learning because of the various skill and social, emotional intelligence, conflict resolutions, social interactions happens, and those things happen in so that comes from within high cost of the university. That is what we are doing on a regular mode. But at this moment, during the COVID-19, it has increased our understanding that how in terms of education, one size fits is not always an ideal case right now. We cannot say that, well, say single model is going to actually give us better result all the time. There are wide variety of teachers, wide variety of courses, and wide variety of learning approaches, and wide variety of materials that we have to disseminate. Some courses are highly mathematical, some of them are heavily experimental based, some of them are descriptive, and a lecture based deliberation is fine. So one size fits model is not unique in this kind of situation. So we have to run again a small experiment using digital technologies and changing the curriculum and update the curriculum on the basis of our feedback, and to see that, well, how students feel comfortable using the technologies more effectively. We can actually do it in future. Those things that actually we have to see that. So by augmentation, I would like to mention that, well, whatever method we experience as better method, that is something that we have to adopt, and also all sort of changes has to be incorporated. But one of the very good model at this moment during pandemic is going to work very good, which we call the hybrid model. Basically some part on campus and online. This hybrid model we used to run while universities are in normal mode, students are in campus. These are heavily substituted by the technology and also augmented by technology and also complemented by technology, and using the technology, online delivery and on campus while they are coming, we do part by part, a fraction online, a fraction in class. Those hybrid model also work good. And we have to see that, well, some university in the USA right now, they are saying that they are not going to bring, even in fall and also next semester, all these students they are not going to bring in campus. They are going to bring on campus only the senior students. The junior students, the freshman and sophomore students are going to be in offshore, and they are going to get the online education. But the senior students, those who need to be in campus to run experiment and lab facilities and also library facilities, other support, they have to bring partially. That means when we assume that pandemic is going to continue, we have to also fraction and also segment our student body and see that whether we can create support in on campus and also support in off campus and run those operations in that way. And finally, the last model can also be applicable, which is 100% online, fully online model. This 100% model is already existing in some institutions and some educational provider. They run like a Coursera type of courses on online basis. Many institutions do exist that way, but 100% fully online degrees with the best learning outcomes sometimes is not possible, and it is not always recommended also, because university the campus presence, campus based education, the residence based education is never ever going to go out from the world, because face to face there is no such alternative of face-to-face education. Obviously, due to the penetration of the technology, now that we all talk about the advanced technology like artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning, and these are actually disrupting the industry floor. University, like in the education sector, like the industry 4, what we call the industry 4, can be also converting right now in the education sector. Education 4 can also come with heavily depending on the technology may come. But as I already mentioned, that we have chatted with many high-profile academicians and vice chancellors across the world, from Harvard and also Harvard and Australian and National University, many other. They all actually agree by one thing, that alternative, yeah, there is no alternative of in-campus education and in-person education. University do not exist only for graduating students and giving them job opportunity. University do exist for creating new knowledge. University do exist for disseminating knowledge. University do create an environment where a discussion and debate forum always exists in the academia along with the students, and that creates new knowledge and new battles in, they take the groundbreaking initiatives and groundbreaking discoveries happens in the university, because university always involved in research and development in all problems that are arising in the global scenario. No matter it's health or society or economy or any other thing, university do exist for creating new knowledge, just to address those causes. So, but then again, at this moment of technology advancement, many venture capitalists around the world are realizing those things, and they are also capitalizing the educational sector. That is good thing, because they want to invest in technology, also invest in educational sector as in a startup, like online courses, course content development, delivery methods, those things are fine. So if university can join hands with venture capitalists and bring the top-notch companies, so that in due time, in future, we're going to see that more partnerships with the universities and the industries, and the just because huge capital is going to invest, you will see that a game change is going to also occur in the academia. But then again, I would always say that, well, a proportion of teaching would be teaching or learning would be on campus. 100% online, fully online may be an option, might not be always recommended for all sort of degrees and all sort of education. So what would be the post-COVID scenario? Suppose we are already done with the post-COVID and the situation have come normal. Can we go back to our teaching and service delivery the way we were before the pre-COVID? It may not happen anymore, because faculty and staff members, they have now become very fond of using digital technology, and they know that digital technology is augmenting quality teaching and also service delivery. That is better. So I think there will be a proportion of teaching in classroom with heavy use of technology mode, and faculty members after post-COVID situation scenario, they are going to heavily use technology to communicate with the students. More academic collaborations would also be possible using the technology, and to ensure the high quality education services. The way we are now collaborating with across the world, try to know that which model is good, and whatever problem we are facing, we are trying to learn it from other people, those who are practicing. That's a good thing. And eventually we are going to be able to provide more services from distance. That is possible after the post-COVID scenario. A hybrid model of education would be preferred, where some of the things that we are going to do on campus, many things that we are going to do online, many facilities we are going to deliver through online basis, and many things that we are going to also do in campus. So teamwork, group projects, they are going to do remotely, but they can also come to the campus to discuss the issues and problems, the real world business problem, real world science and technology problems can be discussed with the faculty members and students on a group wise. They can do it or even while they are on off campus. High digital content would be required for better services in the post-COVID scenario, and there will be more innovations in teaching and learning method and service delivery method in academia, which is going to happen. Blended learning method would be utilized. Obviously, it is utilized already, but it is going to be heavily utilized using all sort of technology, textbook, and incorporating the stakeholders. It is going to be far in a better mode, and a flipped approach of teaching also going to happen. Sometime students are going to be given case studies, case write-ups the way we deliver long before the class, and they're going to they're going to brainstorm and come back to the class and exercise those things in class, and they're going to be able to resolve and issues in the case even in a multiple way. Coursera type of online courses are going to be offered, some Indian institutions is also doing those things. Bangladesh is going to also heavily going to do after post-COVID. I think I would stop here because it's 1 hour. I would request any of my fellow participants, if they have questions or queries or what we are facing in a country like Bangladesh or in the neighboring countries, or even they have any other concern, they can share their own views, and so that I can also learn little bit from the audience. Thank you very much for inviting. I'm done with 1 hour presentation.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you so much. Means I don't have words. By going through your PPT, I was able to see that you have actually covered all the pertaining issues that we are facing in the education world today. I had a request from Professor Boumediene Shanak. He is taking care of the technology and teaching here. He's associate professor in College of Business. He wanted to ask you some question directly. So I hand over the session to Professor Boumediene. Over to you, Dr. Boumediene.
Yes, I'm here. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can I start?
Sure.
Okay, first of all, I would like to express my appreciated thanks and greatly thanks for Professor Abdullah. Really, it was an interesting, let's just say, information provided by Professor Abdullah. Thank you very much. Actually, I just want to ask Professor Abdullah, let's just me introduce the problem, or let's just say the issue that we face in general. Most of the universities, if not all, they are interested more to provide evidence that we are teaching good, we are providing material, we are making examination, as you know, to respond to the government or to other communities or to other entities for some accreditation or quality or whatever. But unfortunately, there are no visible assessments that we know that our students are really, they are learning and they get knowledge. So this is become that most of the universities that they are, it looks like they are not interested in that. And most of their, let's just say, work or let's just say their efforts done on how to make, let the instructor teaching, providing material, examination, and so on. My question to you, Doctor, based on your experience, could you please provide us as any approach or methods or any indicator that we can, how we can really know that our students really they are learning during the materials or during that they are already in our university, how we can know they are really learning and they gain some knowledge. Not we don't want this examination marks, as you know, this is not an evidence that we could use that yes, if they get A, this means that they are learning. It's not. I read a lot of says that they say it is not true. So based on your experience, how you can measure, or how, as an instructor, how I can know that my student really they are learning from my course? Thank you very much. Hope my question clear.
Yeah. Thank you. I have got questions. I truly understand that concern. It is not only your question, it is a question from us also. Many faculty members, many institutions truly want to make sure that whether students have learned. Here there is actually some responsibility bears on faculty's shoulder. Some parts also bears in the academic administrator like us, those who are running the academic institutions, whether they have any system in built to understand or to assess whether they have learned one thing. First of all, faculty part, I would say faculty's first task is to engage and support students online. Faculty really need to do few things. One is inform. Number two is connect. Number three, engage. And number four, reflect. These few things, if they do, you will see a short form of questionnaire if you provide students and they're going to give you feedback. All right. Every class, once you finish a small questionnaire, you can distribute among the students, and they are going to say that, well, they have learned, they did not learn, strongly agree, disagree, or do not agree, or they do not understand the delivery method. Faculty has to inform. Faculty's first job is to inform the relevant reading materials and set reflective tasks, share notes, videos, those things to disseminate. And then the faculty has to connect them via class or webinar or whatever method. If faculty do not have a questionnaire of assessing themselves and making sure that they have learned it, all right, then the eventual course output, as you said, later grade A, B, C will not actually match with the understanding of the students or whatever. So every teaching material that you cover, at the end of the teaching, you can assess them by giving a questionnaire, even a simple multiple choice questions that you can do in 5-10 minutes to understand that lecture wise, do they understand the topic? Because if you do it on class basis, it's, you know, in one single semester, if a class is for 90 minutes or 1.5 hours, it is going to be around 24 sessions. If it is a 1 hour class, it is going to be 30 sessions. If it is a 3-hour class, it is going to be minimum 12 sessions. So you see that every session, whatever the topic that you cover or I cover, end of the class, at least you spend 5-10 minutes to assess them, that every single students in the class try to online, they are going to submit some questions answer, basic questions answer about the topic that you have taught. And you know, so you in one side, you have a plan to what you are going to tell them, and in class you know that what you have told them, and in the last you try to make sure that what you have told them, whether they have learned it, by giving small questions in multiple choice, so that you can assess that they have learned. You can also go in a different time by taking oral presentation or oral exam, by assessing that whether they have understand the class materials, giving some relevant examples, and those things are very important to assess students' conceptual clarity. Once they can demonstrate their conceptual clarity is matching with your understanding, then you can say that the student have got the learning. Otherwise, it is going to be again a single dimensional knowledge dissemination. You gave a lecture, but you did not involve them. You did not get the feedback. You did not get the any answer from them. It is not going to be very fruitful. At the end of the semester, I know that you are going to take an exam on the online basis, giving assignment, giving I would request most faculty members, those who are teaching in the online basis, they should go to unseen problem solving, which they did not do in the classroom lecture. So they are going to brainstorm their problems that you have given, and then return it to you, and at that time you can assess that, well, how far they can actually relate their learning from classroom environment to an extra material that you have given, which they have not seen. That unseen part is very important. Many of us are judging a student by giving heavy seen materials. These seen materials would not be very wise decision for us to assess students. Rather, you relate things, give them unseen problems. That is going to be able. So you are going to engage, and you are going to get a reflect back from them, and give them a short presentation, or ask them question so that they can answer, so that you can make sure that they have learned the definition that you have taught, they have learned the method that you have expressed, those things. I think otherwise we are not going to be achieving anything on online education.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much, Dr. Boumediene, for raising this kind of question. Thank you so much, Professor Hannan, for answering it. Now there are a series of questions which have the chat box. What I'm going to do it, I'm going to share my screen so that it appears to the screen of you also, because these are long questions, and I feel that the gist of it will be lost if I simply read it and then tell you. So what I'm going to do is I'm sharing my screen so you can refer to these questions. Of course, I'll be reading it as well. So the first question is coming from Professor Vijay Vallabh Bhartwal. I hope the screen is visible to all the people.
Yes.
Okay, so the question is, sir, how it is possible to sustain higher education in rural areas or developing countries, of where IT and physical infrastructure is not adequately developed? And this is a common problem that we are also facing in Oman, though Oman is more developed as compared to many South Asian nations, but still we have the remote places where we face the technical glitches. And recently, some of the university in India has promoted students to the next standard without conducting examination on campus or online. What will be the net impact of such practices if examinations are not conducted in a long run? This is a question from Dr. Vijay Vallabh from India.
Yes, I think this is not the only problem in India, Bangladesh. I have been listening some of the top-notch academicians, even in the USA, they were explaining the same thing, that while they have sent back to their students across United States of America, many students, they have got technological and infrastructure problem from rural America also. So, but in India and Bangladesh, country like us, where we could not yet ensure a regular basis of electricity supply, then poor infrastructure support, support that I already mentioned in our in my lecture, that poor infrastructure support, IT support, those things, and also even the data MBB support is also not there by the provider. So even in a country like Bangladesh, during this pandemic time, in this budget, they have increased the high rate for the mobile phone users. That is not, and the academia has actually complained about it, that our students are in rural village. We want to make sure a low price data support, that so that the student can use those things. Now, yes, the sustaining higher education in rural areas in the developing country would be very difficult. I think first of all, I would like to make it clear to all the faculty members. Even in the Oman, as Dr. Saad has mentioned, this problem is going to exist anywhere, everywhere, because this whole world is not yet connected. There are connectivity gaps and wider gaps in our digital divide is already there. So that is something that we all have to agree. And in this point, I would say that higher education is going to be in a challenging mode for sustaining in the same and same. There will be variations. There will be variation. In Bangladesh, what Bangladesh government has done, that they have created, for the school children. For the school children, they have dedicated a television channel to even countrywide, so that the student can learn from TV channel. But it is not ensured for the higher education sector. So disseminating knowledge by the higher learning institution would be different in different setup. Not everyone is going to be able to access it, but obviously what we are going to do, we are going to encourage our faculty member or university or our system to provide them service always using an alternative mode. Alternative mode means if in the on-class, online lecture, if on a live forum student cannot see, but later on a student can view those things via YouTube or even recorded version, would be a possibility. Or communicating with them via email in a different format would be a possibility. Using other platforms would be a possibility. But it is not going to ensure entire sustainability of higher education in the rural versus urban setup. Even in urban, it is also is a problem happening in Bangladesh. So I would say that, well, we have to agree on that part. The examination part, as you have mentioned in the last part, the examination part of conducting online exams, if you do not have a strong online systems built in, how you are going to judge a student that whether a student is capable of solving a problem within a given time frame, until and unless you have a time-based strategy for taking exams that students are going to be timely out of the system. They're going to be out of the system after 2 hours, after 1 hour, because system will automatically out you from the that time-based exam procedures are not happening heavily. So therefore disservice is going on, I would say, and examination part can be only ensured if you take a system in build and and implement or incorporate it with your own university system. That is possible. But again, you cannot do it like the way TOEFL or GRE or SAT exams or all those standardized tests happens through computer technology, because they have a big database of questions and they have different level of questions. They do pick at random basis and then prepare questions, and questions varies from student to student and country to country and geographic area basis. That cannot be done very easily. So our exam method and assessment method is also in deep into trouble. I would agree with Dr. Vijay, but having said that, we have at this moment we do not have any other option running and giving alternative method. Always we have to customize our own system and also deliver and also achieve as much as you can. You cannot get 100% satisfaction in this kind of service delivery. If you can go up to 60% of service delivery satisfaction level, 60 to 70% would be fine. No way you can achieve even more than 80% satisfaction through this kind of distance measure, unless structured system is not built in. So most of us is actually suffering that part. All Bangladeshi institutions suffering. Our government universities are heavily suffering than the private universities. Private universities are more advanced in terms of using technology. Government university has traditional methods, and even the Jawaharlal Nehru University, they gave a interview in the Al Jazeera. They said that, well, students are not catching much from this kind of distance measure. So there will always be a problem. There will always be a problem.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. So let's move to the next question. Is asked by Professor Arshad from Agra, and his question is, first of all, he is thanking you, and he says that keeping in view the big gulf that exists between rich, there is a big gap which exists between rich and poor in most of our South Asian countries that creates a enormous digital divide. How can we expect a new model of education to cater the need of our society?
True, thank you. Yes, as we already mentioned, the digital divide is existing, the rich versus poor, region versus region. In India, even India has got the best institution, those who are using technology. India has also a very common type of institutions like Bangladesh. India has also wide variety of disparity of the service delivery in the education system like Bangladesh. We do all have to agree on. What we need to actually be willing right now to accept our situation due to global pandemic, and we have to agree on, that at this moment we have problem because we do not have very good content developed already. Like India has NIIT. NIIT has a very good support of content, which any institution can borrow, and that content can be used for service delivery for education service delivery. So this poor versus rich, we have to see that, well, our student are also poor and our student has also from rich segment. They have high profile background with use technology support and latest laptops, latest smartphone, but many of our students do not have a laptop even. They are sharing out their laptop or they are going some other places to even get the lectures. So considering that thing, that, well, there will be digital divide in across the world, and this divide is actually very visible, and it is now in the we can see it very clearly. So our point is that understanding this scenario, we faculty member have to use all sort of method to help our student. If your helping mind is there, when you establish connectivity with your student, you will see that how enthusiastic your student to learn. That is something that all the faculty members now have to be willing, that we are there as a service provider for you, and I'm going to help you. No matter what kind of trouble you face, I'm going to use one sort of communication devices to at least provide you that support. That's how we have to run. Now, unfortunately, this is what is the ground reality for all of us.
I completely agree with you on this. Now, another big issue is being raised by Professor Monica Rana. I feel that this is one of the repetitive questions because if you see,
very pertinent. Monica Rana raised a question that you see that, well, she said that, well, how do we ensure the level of students' competence through exams when we are not too sure they are not cheating? First of all, these are 21st century kids. They are millennial generations, and while they are going to cheat, they are going to also use their 21st century skills of technology, and they are going to use all sort of technology based method to cheat, and also to convince their faculty member that they have equally learned like a better student in the classroom. And it is always good by the faculty member to give individual projects or group projects. Give 3-4 students a group project. Try to see that how they design the whole problem of the project and solve the problem as a group. Try to teach them in a group wise. That is fine. Or give individual project. If class size is very big, individual projects becomes very difficult for the faculty members because every single project has to be different. I would recommend that if a 30 size students in class, or divide them 4 or 5, give them group project, let them chat with the problem, let them try to come up with the solution by using their brains and innovative minds and creative thinking, so that you eventually can identify that in order to solve this problem, these groups have used their analytical frame of mind. They shared the problem with their group, and they have been actually addressing the problem in different way. There are multiple solutions they have come up, and other group did not come with different solutions, and all the solutions seems logical, and you try to figure out the analytical frame of mind, how they address the problem, how they actually solve the problem, those things. So our delivery method, no matter what we teach, giving them a big exercise, big assignment, big case studies, big project, you will see that they're going to brainstorm with each other. Let them take information from other sources. There is nothing wrong in it. It is not a plagiarized thing, but you try to figure out that what is their contribution, what proportion of the materials they have plagiarized. Are they plagiarized a lot? Those things you check and see that whether they are saying the meaningful thing. That is what, otherwise they are going to cheat. If you give straightforward questions to them, they are going to cheat heavily. They are going to even take in-class exam in online, but their mobile phone is going to be connected with another person in remote, and they're going to get answer from other people. So remember, giving group projects and big assignments and small write-ups, small case studies, you will see that innovative and creative thinking about the subject matter is going to come out. And that is what is your contribution as a faculty member, that you try to extract their knowledge, hidden potential by solving a single problem in different way.
So basically, we are looking at asking them higher level question, which has more implication on application, evaluation, and analysis. So let's move on. So other R.K. Bharti is again from India, and he is concerned about the job prospects of teachers in higher education. So,
okay, I think it's a very wide question. Job prospects of teachers. Remember, teachers in across the world are two kinds. One group of teachers are heavily focused on research, and they do exist in academia based on their credits on research output. Especially in the Western world, in the advanced country, teachers do exist in the academia based on their research output. They do not actually exist in the academia because of their teaching, unless it is a teaching school or teaching university only focus on teaching. Many of our institutions in our country and in India are heavily on teaching based in institutions. They are not heavily focused on research. If your institution is a teaching based institution, you are going to obviously be able to be successful and also get a career ladder. Even if you teach online very good, your way of presenting things, your way of content development, your way of delivering lectures, your way of connecting students, and your way of actually disseminating and assessing knowledge part from the learning part from the student would eventually help yourself. I'm sure that institutions eventually will assess their faculty members on the basis of their online teaching capability. So there will be obviously some measures that institutions are going to use from their faculty members, those who are teaching on online. They're going to definitely take the feedback from the student. They're going to definitely look into that, what do you teach in the online system. They're going to definitely look into that, what kind of course outline and output you have given and how far you have been able to achieve those things. They're going to definitely relate that whatever you say in your course outline, whether or eventually you were able to achieve that part. So academic institutions is going to measure that thing. Online teaching experience is not a bad thing. It is a new way of learning things. Technology plus new way of giving knowledge to the students. That's not a bad thing. It's an added value. It's an added value. Those faculty members do teach good in the classroom, and if, on top of it, if they are capable of teaching on an online basis, that is going to be an added value for them. Many academic institutions are from across the world. They do take teachers from another part of the world to teach a course in another country. So if you develop that quality, you should be able to teach courses in Brazil, in Portugal, in Europe, in US, from India. That is a possibility. That's a good part. That is a good part. But research output is going to measure you how good you are in terms of penetrating in the top job markets in the advanced world. That is going to be counted by your research. And it is possible many Indian institutions like ISI, like IIM, like ISB, like IIT, these teachers, these faculty members do exist in the academia because of their research, not the teaching part. All right. So there is always a good news for there actually. Now that the new phenomenon has come that we have to teach also online, that component will also be counted as a positive thing. So we should not be worried about job prospect. If it is a remote teaching, wider scope is going to come there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so now there is Dr. Ugi Suha.
Any other question?
He is our chief of moderation committee, and he has a concern that how do we conduct moderation in this remote learning activity?
Hello. Do you hear
Hello,
me,
can
sir?
you hear?
I did not hear.
Yes, I can. Yes, this is Professor Ugi Suha, who is a resource person for tomorrow's
Hello?
session also. And is my screen visible to you, sir?
Yes. Dr. Saad, can you repeat what did you say last few?
Yes, he is Dr. Suharto. He is our chair of moderation committee, and his question is, how do we conduct moderation in this remote learning activities?
I don't hear.
How do we conduct moderation? It's appearing on the screen also, if you can see the question.
Oh, how do we conduct the moderation in this remote learning? Conduct the moderation in this remote learning activities.
Moderation of examinations and
Yeah, moderation of what? That is something I have to be clear. Is it he is saying that moderation of the questions and other things?
yes, moderation of papers, question papers, answer scripts and all.
Yeah, obviously, there are education systems, education institutions. They do follow moderation heavily in terms of question preparation. In terms of I think it is quite possible because physically, whatever we do by consulting a group of people's questions or exams or even the course outlines, we have to do it the same way from the remote. The only thing that institution has to format the team, and institution has to give the responsibility to somebody who is going to run a team for moderating questions, moderate and observing the classes and moderating the contents, those things. That is an institutional administrative part. And in the presentation, I told them that task force one, short-term task force, they are going to do those things, the report delivery, report preparations, those things, and then task force is going to take all short-term strategy for the organization. That is quite possible using even technology from remote.
Completely agree with you. Completely agree. And I also agree with your previous statement that right now during this phase, the researchers are getting badly affected because I can observe my own situation. Most of the time we are involved with, now we are in the radars of students 24/7. So all the time we have to be available for them. So, Dr. Anthony Ligori, though his question is already asked, it has been answered by you, but it's my responsibility just to appraise you that you answered this question already in one of the queries. Students do not show interest in online. How to motivate students? So motivation is one of the issue which he is looking for. And similarly, Dr. Kawaljit Kaur is asking.
Interesting. We have to make the exam interesting and also case-based exams so that they can become involved in it. Otherwise, they are not going to be the traditional way of asking definition or examples or solving a particular problem. It will not happen until and unless you impose a time-based exam procedure. Otherwise, you create exams in an interesting way. You see that the students are going to be involved and they're going to respond.
Next issue is from Professor Kawaljit Kaur, and she's asking if this pandemic continues for longer time. Actually, it is going to continue for longer time now. Then, which model is suitable to sustain higher education, which you have already shared in the slides? But please,
okay, in my view, although we know that, well, COVID-19 has gave us a high hit right now, India, Bangladesh, and this part of the world, and many parts of the world. But I'm sure that, well, the US scientists across the world is actually addressing this, and also country versus country. It is going to die down. It is not going to go. It is not going to be wipe out in period of time, but it's going to die down a little bit. It is going to die down a little bit, and then obviously a hybrid model will work better. A hybrid model means you will see that students are going to come in campus also, and then also we have to run many things also in remote basis. So a hybrid model would be 100% online would not be a feasible one, and also 100% face-to-face might not be a choice in the near future. So a hybrid model may be going to work, but it depends on the geography where we are staying. New Zealand and Australia, they have addressed very good. Chinese universities are actually taking classes. Many other countries are also going back to the campus. It depends on the geography where we are locating.
I believe you have covered most part of this now. I think Professor one question has to be answered, because we have already seen what is the role of teachers today in the digital world. There is an interesting question which is coming from Mr. Irfan Khan, who is administrative officer in EMU Aligarh, and he says that with amount of pressure and challenges that students are facing during online education, will it be sustainable to continue with the online mode of education in the longer run if the pandemic situation continues? It's an extension of Dr. Kawaljit Kaur actually, but it is from the students' point of view now.
Yes, actually, it's not that I can say that the students are heavily enjoying online education. They do not, no student truly enjoy distance learning, especially undergraduate students across the world. They want to come to the campus, they want to mingle with the student, they want to have the favor of the campus, they want to also be independent in their student life apart from the home. Those are general things. If these things continue, actually, it is going to disrupt heavily in our quality of education and also the learning part, the quality of degrees, the quality of achievement. Those things are going to heavily impact. Now, again and again, we have to agree on, if this continues, university will not have choice other than running operations from remote. That is for sure. But as I said, it is not going to happen like the way we are facing right now. The same way it is not going to continue for next 2 years. That is not going to happen. I hope that is not going to happen. So obviously we are going to overcome this situation. Although we have to phase out time-wise, we have to phase out, and then all of it slowly, gradually, we have to bring back the old environment, at least in campus education. That is something, yeah. So, if pandemic continues, it is going to obviously impact the quality of education. It is going to obviously impact. But question is, what choice do we have? Our students are not going to sit at home and be idle. That is something that we do not want to, because we do not want to see. No family wants that their children are going to be out of school. No family wants that their children are not going to pursue degrees. No family wants to see that children are not involved. Our part is that from service delivery point, we have to be more willing to provide services from remote and try to address each and every students based on their questions, queries, support that we really need to provide from the academic institution. That is what is the role of the teachers during pandemic period, that we have to be willing to help and go in a helping mode in a much more wider scale.
Totally agree. Now, another interesting aspect is coming from Dr. And she is saying that, has anybody thought of guidelines as to maximum hours of screen exposure time to be used for healthy sight and sound mental health, both for students and teachers? I remember one of my
Yeah,
one of the doctors that we all are becoming screen. We are always stuck to screen, and it is going to have an adverse effect on our psychology and eyesight. So it is related to something that.
Dr. Naithani actually he has mentioned actually the psychosocial part of the whole youngsters and the people in the planet. I think most of us, even as a matured individual, heavily on the computer screen right now. We are, yeah. That truly impacts our in our physical body and also mind, and that is actually impacting our students also, because the students cannot go out of the home, they cannot mingle with their friends, they are not interacting with the friends, they do not go to the restaurant, they do not go to the playground, they are not actually getting that freedom the way they used to be. So there will be a psychosocial impact, and the psychologists across the world are telling it that it is clear that children to even grown people have a mental agony, mental problem. Only not only for COVID situation. COVID is giving us fear of having trouble, but also apart from COVID, that health hazard, mental issues are actually creating the violence at home. Those things have grown heavily. Even within the family structure, torturing women's females, those things are heavily going on. So you see, the statistics is telling us that human beings during pandemic period are heavily under psychosocial pressure. We have to take the psychosocial counseling. We have to also get those help, and I'm sure that free time, whenever we are out of the computer, we have to do some exercise, do some physical exercise, get some fresh air in a free place. Those things we have to do, and exercise is going to give you, and if it is possible in Indian case, meditation has a good feelings, and in our case we do go for spiritual thing also, that helps us a lot. And I'm sure that human being is going to find out those things. Obviously there are certain cases that you need doctors and physicians suggestions or psychosocial counseling required.
Thank you so much, sir. I just recall the first speech which I heard about you. Listening, I was one of the person among the audience and talking about health, and that the similar kind of lecture is now needed for most of the participants who are here. Just for your information, right now they are from 27 different countries. And right now I can see around 130 people, but my site map says that there are 308 logins today, and the maximum capacity that we have is 250. So I believe that most of the questions have been answered beautifully by you. Thank you so much for that. And I'm indebted to you for sparing your time out of your busy schedule.
I would request you to send me all those questions so that based on those questions I can write a feature. So, the questions, if you could
Definitely.
kindly email, yeah, you will see that, well, answering those questions would give me a better write-up of, the situation of the COVID.
Definitely, so I'll share those questions with you. Now, in the interest of time, because we have already exceeded this session, we did not realize it also. Means
Yes, yes.
that is the level of speech that you have delivered today. So, without any further delay, most of our deans and directors, they are busy in the selection committee today. Though Honorable Vice Chancellor, he came for around 15 minutes and he attended your session. Now, without any further delay, we have Dr. Ferdinand Fogg. He is head of quality assurance for our college. And he is the best person, I believe, to propose a vote of thanks for you. So, Dr. Ferdinand, over to you. If we can see you and you can propose a vote of thanks for today. Dr. Ferdinand.
Yes, Dr. Shad, good afternoon. Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for moderating this session, and it became lively, entertaining a lot of questions, and everyone got ideas on how they are going to face the situation. I would like to thank, in behalf of our acting dean, Dr. Ibrahim Rashid, and to my colleagues and to the administrations and colleagues in the University of Buraimi, I would like to give you this wonderful session. Thank you so much for your brilliant ideas, Dr. Abdul Hannan, for giving your precious time to introduce what are the salient points, the brilliant insights on how we can cover up with this kind of situation, about how we could sustain our higher education learning. We all agree that this is not that, we learned that it is not that easy task we are facing as educators, but the most important thing is our willingness to improve ourselves, that those traditional ways we have to go out of our comfort zone in order to support and sustain our learning, not for ourselves only, but also for our students, most importantly. I agree with the idea of Dr. Boumedian a while ago about this question. The problem really is the culture of learning of our students. And we do believe that later on, with our collaboration, it can be improved, and our Ministry of Higher Education would look into that kind of situation. So with this, I would like to thank you, Dr. Abdul, for your brilliant ideas, for your time, sharing all your thoughts, your wonderful ideas, and we learned a lot from your presentation this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you so much.
inviting me again. Thank you, Buraimi. Thank you, Dr. Shah, and also your Vice Chancellor and all top bodies of your university. Thank you very much for inviting
Thank
me.
you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Most
And with
welcome.
this, our relationship has now started with University of Bangladesh.
Professor
So,
Abdul Hannan Chowdhury, sir.
yes, Dr. R.K. Bharti.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. May I invite you to our
All
Agra
right.
University and visit the Taj with all of us. I am Dr. R.K. Bharti from the city of Taj, India.
Anytime, anytime. I have been there for a long time. I was invited by many institutions in Delhi. Even I was in BIMSTEC there. I was in many Indian institutions. I would love to go there in Agra again.
But the next time in the city of Taj, sir, with all of us, please.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's what actually we do. Academicians across the world must be connected, and surely we have a lot of things to learn.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much.
much, sir.
Professor
Thank
Ravindra
you.
Rana, Kamaljeet Kaur, they are going to be speaker. Professor Ravindra Rana was speaker yesterday. Dr. Rowley is also there. So thank you all the participants. We will meet again tomorrow, same time. And my big thanks to Professor Hannan for being with us today. All the persons before the platform, please mark your attendance. The link has been shared. And have a great day ahead. And all the resource persons join us for tomorrow for our concluding day. And we will have a summative type of report which can be sent to the relevant authorities. Thank you so much and have a great day ahead. Have a great time.
Thank you, Dr. Saad, again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prasad. Thank you, the organizers and everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.